All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and there he is, my partner, Al's brother, also known as Michael DeStefano.
How we doing, fellas?
How we feeling? How we doing?
It's a super day, boys. It's a super day.
We're jacked up.
Let me ask you guys something. Right off the hop, do you think Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are hanging out with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes right now? No.
Why would they do that? Why would they possibly
is this guy
do that?
on the show? I thought I was a prominent member of the show, and you guys are going to team up today and try to gang up on me?
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's the
I
plan.
didn't sign up on that.
That's the plan.
The team. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're the
Dude, my
pace cars.
partsy's nowhere to be found, and you guys are going to come at me with your agendas, your beliefs, different storytelling, maybe possibly lead me in some different directions, throw some crumbs over there and see if I'll go chase them. I don't support it, but I did want to show you guys something. That's my first Super Bowl with some real friends. It's my buddy Murphcat, Bearcat, and Spradley, and we are right in the New England zone, 3 rows up in Jacksonville, Florida, and guess who they played? Can any of you answer?
Is it Carolina, that game?
I believe
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
Andy Reid's Eagles.
Andy Reid's
Reid
Eagles.
lost the Super Bowl that day. Is that what you're about to tell me?
That's
That's
right.
exactly right.
Who was
Andy
playing the
Reid.
halftime? Who was the halftime?
Dude, I'm not getting into it because you know I hated it. It was Paul McCartney. They wheeled him out on a piano, and I looked at my buddies and I'm like, I wanted Michael Jackson or something. Like I wanted Paula Abdul. I wanted something to get me grooving. And
Just
this
no
guy
culture. No culture with this guy.
Paula Abdul.
No
What is
culture.
Paula
Hayes.
Abdul.
That's absurd.
Hayes, we've never really asked the question. You're telling me if McCartney wheels out there on a stage on a piano, doesn't stand up, you'd be like, this is really cool?
Absolutely. You can say for the rest of your life you saw Paul McCartney play live.
I think you'd have an appreciation for it. Now,
Absolutely.
Outside with O, where I probably would rather something with a little bit more pizzazz for a Super Bowl halftime, but you have to appreciate the greatness of Paul McCartney and the Beatles.
Exactly.
And that legacy.
Like this is the comparison of going to Augusta or the Waste Management, right? Both are very cool, but if you get to go to Augusta National, is it stuffy? Sure. Is it older? Is it a little bit more, procedural in terms of the way things are going to operate? Yes, but it's a bucket list. It's something you can say for the rest of your life. Going to the Waste Management obviously is very cool too, but what that is a party, and it's modern and it's buzzworthy now. But no one for the rest of their life is saying, hey, I got to walk the sacred grounds of TPC Scottsdale. I got to see, Paula Abdul do the halftime show. No one's saying that. Paul McCartney.
Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake. That was a
been
historical moment.
That would have been cool.
Be a part of.
That was historical for a lot of different reasons.
Very historical.
Very, very historical. But anyway, we don't have to go down that road, but I think it would have been cool. I wonder if that is possibly a look into the future. Andy Reid on the wrong side of a Super Bowl result. And you guys are going to be picking the spread. All right? Commissioner Doogie finally stepped up. There's way too many people in his ear. Next year, this is what's going to happen. Okay? I don't want to hear from anybody in terms of complaints, in terms of what the spreads are, what we're playing. Like, Luke Wilson is the most annoying human being on earth in a group chat.
I gotta just add one thing. You have the luxury. You go in there for those expensive Sports Center hits that you love jamming in your pockets, and when you are in there, you have the luxury of saying, "Hey, Doogie, I got to talk to you about something," and you grill him and complain in person and act like it never happens. So you're in Doogie's ear more than anyone, bro.
Well,
anyone.
That is true, considering Doogie and I work closely together to actually make everything work on this show. Or if I didn't talk with Doogie, we would, who knows what the hell would be happening every single day. So yes, I do talk with Doogie, and I try to, in certain areas, guide Doogie towards what I think is a very important element of the show, which is entertainment in the end. But Joe from the Bridge is the second most annoying person on earth.
It's a 1A1.
This guy's gotten out of
so annoying on this group chat.
He used to chime in once in a blue moon and say, I'd like that trade, maybe not. Now it's daily. He has a 10-paragraph essay, and it's like, here's the deal from Joe from the Bridge. It's got to stop. I don't condone that either, and I hope that disappears immediately.
Okay, well, and that's who I'm directing this towards. Luke Wilson and your biggest fan, Joe from the Bridge, who always sides with you two.
Every time.
Always pushes for idiocy and things that are anti-entertainment value, and that's what we're looking for. And there's going to be some fireworks this afternoon because we are going to finally track Luke down. We haven't heard from him all week. I've not had Luke on once all week. No idea what he's doing down there, but he will come up at 6. We're going to have Jesse Palmer come on a little bit later. We've got MJ coming up. We're coming off a Leaf game last night. Morty Seinfeld, you're on the panel, right? Did you make it through the panel, and how'd everything go last night? I wouldn't say it was exactly an enthralling game, but Stolarz played really well.
Yeah.
Stolarz played really well,
Excellent.
and I think that's all you wanted to see. Pick up 2 points, stay red hot on this trip. Stolarz is back. He looked great. I think that's
power play kept cooking.
Everything you wanted across the board. If you're a Maple Leaf fan.
Everything happened last night, Hayes. It was one of those games, and it's like the Seattle Kraken right now. It's like they're playing poker short stacked, where it's like no matter what they do, like they could dominate a game. You know the other team's goalie's going to stand on their head, or another team's power play is going to get a couple early, and it's just a team that's not going to make the playoffs, and they're going out there and working. And the Maple Leafs are just their better players are better, and they had some guys come through with some lucky breaks. It wasn't the best game in the world, but I think good teams win games when they don't have their A stuff. And now they have an opportunity. I said it on the post-game hit. They can go into Vancouver, and I touched on this before they left for the road trip. You get those first couple games, you go for the kill, and you really focus against Vancouver. And everybody gets on their private birds in Vancouver and goes down to wherever they're going. And everybody's feeling good about themselves. It's either the private bird to Mexico or the private bird back to Toronto. But you go 4-0. Because remember the feeling going into the road trip, guys.
Wasn't good.
It wasn't good. The offense was stale. Nobody was scoring. It was a really grindy dog days of the season type feel. And now they're cooking out west. Bobby McMann scored again. Another good story.
Listen, Bobby McMann is the best story going in Toronto sports right now. Like the story of Bobby McMann is one that this market always, I think any market would and should gravitate to. But I think a hockey market like this should have such an appreciation for who this guy is and where he's come from. This guy was playing East Coast Hockey League games a few years ago. This time last year, he was an American Hockey League player that maybe could find a role. Now he has 30 goals in his last, I believe, 76 games. And I saw a stat sent to me last night or this morning. Someone sent me a stat that over the last 30 years.
Hang on a sec. What do people send you? Like just random?
No,
stats?
I get like tagged and stuff. So it's like one of those things, like tagging on Twitter or whatever. Someone will send me a DM on Instagram saying, "Check this out," because they know I'm always looking for information, right, Alice brother? I'm always reaching out to you. I'm looking for tremendous information. That over the last 30 years, 3 Leafs have scored in 5 straight road games because that's what Bobby McMann established last night. He scored in Montreal, in Ottawa, and now he's scored the first 3 games on this trip. Matt Sundin, Austin Matthews, Bobby McMann. Like, that's where this guy's at.
What a
Matt
list.
Sundin, Austin Matthews, Bobby McMann. And every goal seems to be, like last night, it was a really nice play by Morgan Riley, but he's scoring, flying in off the wing, right, with somebody else's stick in Montreal.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, he's actually had some highlight reel goals, man. And it's just an incredible story. Like, we've had these folklore-type guys show up out of nowhere and go on these great runs. The Lonnie Bahanas types, the Nikolai Borshevsky types, and
Steve Sullivan.
There's been a number of guys where it's like, where did this guy come from? Wow, we're on board with this. And that's what Bobby McMann represents right now.
But I don't think this is going to be a guy where you're looking at him, and I don't want to pump my own tires because I'm just I don't feel the need to.
Okay.
But do you not remember, Hayes, when I told you he first kind of made a statement last year? I said, and nobody really believed me. I'm like, I think this guy's a hockey player. Like, I think he's a top 9 forward, and everyone was like, oh, come on, he played in the East Coast, and Noodles was giving it to me, and you were giving it to me. I'm like, sorry, I just think he's a player. He's big, strong, fast, can shoot the puck, and maybe, just maybe, and it doesn't always work out, if you give him an opportunity to play with some offensive players, and who knows where this goes with the guy, but big dude like that can skate. Like, if there's a foot race for a puck in the neutral zone, he's getting it. He's proven that. He can skate, man.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to go to the net either. Like,
he could be a guy that can score you a goal in a playoff series.
They need it.
Absolutely.
He missed the Boston series last year, right? Like, that's not why they lost to Boston. But you get him in Game 7, maybe it's 1-0. Bobby McMann wins a loose puck, and it's 2-0, and all of a sudden the game's over.
Well, Hayes, how often have we talked about this year, the lack of secondary scoring from this team? Like, that's been a massive talking point all year long. And in the playoffs, when the big boys go quiet, no one steps up and scores that goal, right? Like, they lose these games 2-1, 3-2, and it's just because no one else is able to step up when things go bad for the Stars. But now you've got Matthew Nyes, who's been scoring some goals of late. He's up to 20 goals. Bobby McMann, who started the year, started the year out of the lineup, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
The healthy scratch night one. And now all of a sudden, he's fourth on the team in goals, fifth in goals, and he's a huge secondary option. He can play up and down the lineup, and he's trustworthy. Like, you obviously see that Berube trusts him to play off in the offensive zone, on the defensive zone. He's really just a player that's really kind of blossoming. It's been he's 27 years old. He broke into the league at 26, and he's turning into a quality middle six player. And it's just something that the Leafs really needed this year, especially with Marner, the injury that he's had, Matthews, the injuries situation, and his goal scoring has definitely fallen off. They needed someone to step up, and McMahon has done that.
Yeah, you look at it right now. Nylander, 33 goals. Tavares, 21. Matthew Nyes, 21. Matthews, 20. Bobby McMann, 17. Marner, 16. So you're looking at 3 guys who are going to have 20-plus on the season, or 6 guys that are going to have 20-plus, and probably none of them will hit 30. But that is significant to balance out the lineup, because obviously up the middle and on the right side, they've always had guys who can put up points and score, and that's still what is going to be the driving force for this team. It's going to be Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, and Marner. But Nyes and McMahon are pulling their weight on the other side, right? That's been a conversation we've had really since Hyman left, is where do they find some depth and some strength on the left side of the lineup, and who is going to contribute offensively? You can't just constantly be revolving and moving different pieces in and out. And Nyes continues to do it. McMahon continues to do it, and it's opened the door, I think, for Berube to really move his lineup around. And like last night, again, I thought the Matthews line, they look good. They look comfortable. I think Domi clearly is trying to salvage the opportunity. Berube didn't love the Tavares, Marner, Nylander thing. He thought it was okay.
Guess what's going to happen in Vancouver?
You think they revert back to Marner back with Matthews?
Yeah, Matthews has gone 5 games without a goal.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, I don't think, ever. I don't know if that's ever happened again. But a lot of what happens, everybody talks about Max trying to get his game going, and I thought he's been okay the last couple games. But when the big guy on the line has gone 5 without one, that's when things change. Hayes, I've told you about the chain of command, about who needs to be cooking for things to stay in place. That's generally the way things go.
How do you balance that out with they've won 3 in a row and they're playing well and they look pretty good? And
I don't think they played very well last night, guys. Let's be honest.
They played fun. I mean, Seattle's not a very good team either. Seattle's not that great. But I hear what you're saying. But the point is, I thought they deserved to win in Calgary. I think in Edmonton they played great for 30 minutes and then they were on their heels, but they held on and won. But this is the balancing act that Berube, is going to be challenged with, where there's this perception of him as a coach, like, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you make, I don't care where you came from, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like if you're a goalie coming off a shutout, should you continue to play? And if you've won 3 in a row, and they've been very streaky the last month. It's win 3, lose 3, win 3, lose 3. Like, they've done it 4 straight times. So maybe you're not buying into, okay, we've won 3 in a row, so I'm going to be a prisoner to that.
I know, but there's a lot of factors that go into it, because he doesn't want to play Vancouver and it be a spirited game and the last game before the break. And he doesn't want to have a first period where he hates the line combinations and he's going to kick himself and say, "Why I hated this the last game, so why didn't I just change it up?" Mm-hmm. And that may be away from him getting away from the Matthews-Domi combination and just pointing out the second line where he could say, "I didn't really like that line."
Yeah, and that's what he said. He didn't think they executed well. He said the whole team was, not exactly sound with the puck last night at times.
No.
But still, you found a way to win. You've won 3 in a row. And like you said, if you find a way to get 8 points on this road trip, if you beat Vancouver tomorrow night, that's a great way to go into the break, man.
Damn right it is.
It's a great way.
But you're feeling good about yourself because like you were talking about before, the sky was falling before they left on this road trip. Like their home starts had been abysmal and they're playing so poorly. They couldn't wait to get out on the road, and now they've won 3 in a row, right? You went in, you had a gutsy victory against Edmonton. You go and you score 6 in Calgary, and then you grind out a win. So you've had 3 variation W's, but at the end of the day, it's points in the bag. And now all of a sudden, right, when you left for the home trip, you're looking at the standings. Ottawa's only 2 points back. They're closer to 3rd than 1st in the Atlantic Division when they left for the road trip. Now, just 1 point back of first place in the Atlantic. I think they got, a 6-point buffer now on Tampa, who I think moved up into 3rd place last night.
Yep.
So they're in a far better spot than they were a week ago.
Yeah.
If the goal was to head out there and into the break, everybody feeling better about themselves, it's already accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
You just go for the kill now and go for the perfect road trip.
Yeah, and I think probably the most important component of that is that Stolarz played last night and played as well as he did.
He did.
Yeah.
Because
didn't miss a beat, Brian.
No,
that
he didn't.
flurry in the first period there.
He was on the ice a lot last night.
Yeah.
And as a goalie coming off a surgery and a lower body injury, that can be daunting. We talked a lot about it yesterday, like psychologically overcoming that. And he was swimming at times, like had it in check, but he was in one.
He's throwing that leg out there. He was testing it.
Yeah,
he
it
was
looked
definitely
good.
testing it. So.
And I would assume Wall goes tomorrow night. I'm not 100% certain that'll be the case. But I think regardless, you feel good that once you return from this 2-week break, you've got your tandem back. And we're still going to be asking that question all the way until we get to the playoffs. Who's going to start game 1? Who's going to be the man? But if you get both of them playing well, that's you're going to rack up a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to rack up a lot of points. If you have the better goalie on 8 nights out of 10, you're going to win a ton of games.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they're at right now. All right, Jesse Palmer in about 15 minutes. Were you guys surprised Josh Allen won the MVP?
Of course
last
I
night?
was.
No. I don't.
What?
I don't understand the outrage.
It's not about outrage.
Dude, it's not outrage. It's about the other guy winning the
What did the other guy do?
Yeah.
No. Listen, slow down, Al's brother. It's not. I was.
I answered your question.
No, I know, but don't misinterpret me saying like I think Josh Allen should have won the MVP.
Yes,
that's not what I'm saying. Is the history would suggest whoever got voted first team All-Pro gets the MVP. That's the surprise that I'm asking about. Because that has always been the case. Whoever gets first team All-Pro, and it was Lamar, gets the MVP. And that flipped last night. So all the same voters who voted for Lamar to be first team, how does that make sense? How does it make any
before
sense?
you guys debate, debate the actual award being presented, here's a little trick for you TV-wise. If you don't see Lamar in the crowd, did anybody see him?
That is a good question. I mean, I don't recall.
If you're not
seeing
seeing the other guy, there's a good chance that Lamar's
tipped off.
Because he's probably got to be saying, "Look, man, you didn't win," so he goes, "I'm not showing up. Like I'm not going to show up for the, the suspense, so everybody can double pan and show both guys' faces." Josh Allen's the only guy that I saw.
Well, you're right. I didn't see the awards. I just saw it being reported. I know that. Well, Burrow's doing the rounds everywhere. Joe Burrow is trying to convince the whole world to put pressure on Cincinnati. So. Yeah, but you're right though. Allen had his parents there. He had his fiance there. He probably might have been tipped off.
Exactly. He's not like if you're going to go down there with your family. I'll never forget. I was so pissed off. I went to the Canadian Hockey League Awards, and I was convinced I was winning the Rookie of the Year for all of Canada. Literally about to stand up because I won it for the OHL. And the guy said Jeff Friesen. I almost passed out, and I had to shake his. I had to stick my hand out and shake his hand. I was so devastated.
Hey, Jeff. Oh, and his name's Jeff too.
Jeff.
Yeah, the guy's like up. Jeff, and I had a half an ass cheek off of the chair, and he goes Friesen.
Oh man, that's tough,
dude. It was tough, man.
Yeah. Hey, congrats! I knew it was going to be you. You deserve it, Freeze. Okay, Alice, brother, go ahead and lay out your case as to why there shouldn't be any outrage. Because it's not outrage.
No, I'm not saying, but they're online. Like you look at Twitter last night, and everyone's saying that it's outrageous that the guy, because everyone's pointing to the stats and the season that Lamar Jackson had. You can't take that away from him, right? Statistically, it was a top 10 quarterback season of all time, right? In terms of EPA and all the underlying numbers, that O-Dog absolutely adores. And you can't take that away from him. That is absolutely true. But this is not like the CFL has the award. It's called the most outstanding player, right?
Yeah.
The best player. MVP, and this is the issue that I think a lot of people have with the MVP award. The middle word there is valuable, right? And when I break it down, to me, at least, Josh Allen was far more valuable to his team's success, a team that had more wins than Lamar Jackson's Ravens, by the way, than Lamar Jackson was to his team. So when you break it down, who's the most valuable player? It was Josh Allen, hands down.
I agree with you. I agree. That, I believe Josh Allen, it was justified that he won the MVP. I was just not preparing for that because of the All-Pro history. First team All-Pro, it's the same voters. Generally, whoever gets that gets the MVP. But I completely agree with your assessment that I thought Allen had a phenomenal. They both had phenomenal years.
Oh, for sure.
Joe Burrow had a great year.
Oh, great candidates.
If it was MOP, I think Saquon Barkley would have won it last night. I think if it's the most outstanding player, I think Barkley probably would have won it.
Stupid,
well,
man. What are you
because then it's
one
it's
offensive player of the year.
Offensive player of the year with
is.
Saquon is basically the numbers the guy put up were historic. He would have passed Eric Dickerson, I believe, in week 17 if he played. The guy's numbers, I think if he runs 30 yards, he breaks a new record over Terrell Davis, I think it was, right?
TD had the season, full year, playoffs, and regular season.
And the impact he had on them. But I do think Allen should have been one. I would have gone Lamar 2, and then the rest is history. It's irrelevant who else should be there.
27-23 was the vote split. So it was close. It just, to me, when I break it down to value, like if you look at the Baltimore Ravens and the offense that they had, and you look at the Bills, I mean, just look at who got voted into All-Pros.
Yeah, they had a bunch of them. No one on
9 All-Pros, and there was only 2 guys who were voted All-Pro on Buffalo. Deion Dawkins, his left tackle, and Josh Allen. 9 players going to the Pro Bowl for the Baltimore Ravens. So you take away Josh Allen from that Buffalo Bills team, how many games do they win?
Yeah, no, I hear it. Now, let's be clear. If you replace Lamar Jackson with, a terrible quarterback, then they're not going to the playoffs either. But
I don't know if I believe that because they still had Derrick Henry running
you think the Ravens are going? So you tell me, you give me the 30th best quarterback in the league statistically. You think the Ravens are making the playoffs?
Dude,
I think they have a better chance than the Buffalo Bills.
Do you think they're making the playoffs?
Do they make the playoffs? Probably not. They would be in a fight for a playoff spot. But take the league average quarterback, let's say. I think you take a league average QB. You put them on Buffalo, and you take a league average QB, you put them on Baltimore. They both play the same schedule. I think Baltimore ends up with more wins and makes a playoffs.
That I would agree with. But I still think you have to, I've heard that argument applied, and it's accurate, but it's also a little bit misleading because Lamar still supplies wins that are pretty significant.
Of course.
He's still a winning quarterback.
And that's why he's the runner-up.
Exactly. I hear you. Okay.
You guys want to know the
Shout out to
stupidest
Josh
thing
Allen.
I saw yesterday? I think Tyreek Hill's agent put out some feelers and probably understands that nobody wants him. Ooh. And he was apologizing to Tua today, and he's like, my whole team, I'm sorry. Where at the end of the season, he was like, I'm out of here, man.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy sat down with Kay Adams. He fake cried.
We have it. Do you want to hear it? Do you want to see it?
Fire, please.
Okay, here's Tyreek Hill from earlier today.
Tua, he's my guy. Always will be my guy, no matter what, man. And I'm sure, he understands my frustration. We all want to win. Tua, he's another competitor. He's a hell of a competitor. A lot of people don't know that. He's a winner. He's consistent. So I'm looking forward to, just us continuing to build our relationship, man, even more.
I love it.
And this is my public apology.
I love that this is important. So is that what that is? Please.
This is my public apology to you, Tua. I love you, bro.
But take it. I mean, are you sort of wanting to say you're sorry to your team?
Oh God, yeah. But but they already know that though. They know I'm not that kind of player though. I'm not. I a lot of people may say, oh, Reek is a hothead. He's this, he's that. But all my teammates know, bro. I come to work every day. I bust my tail. I show up to meetings on time, and I do what I got to do.
Okay.
That little whimper, that was an ode to Terrell Owens, was it not?
That's my quarterback, man.
That's the worst fake crying I've ever seen.
Oh,
and if I'm anybody in Miami, I'm like, now really get rid of him.
Well, I think you're onto something that he knows he's losing money, probably. In Miami would be in a position to give him the most money, or if they cut him, he's going to lose money. And listen, people would sign him. There'd still be a big, big marketplace for Tyreek Hill. But, that Miami lifestyle is a significant one. And, I'm going to give credit where it's due. Like, if you're going to go back in there, you have to address the fact that right when you lost at the end of the season, you said, I'm out. This team basically stinks. I can't win here. I want to win. Like, he really tore a strip off that Dolphins organization.
Everything.
Yeah. So if you're going to go back, you kind of have to address that. And I guess Tyreek Hill managed to do that.
I don't know how much weight Tua has, but there's a chance Tua says, don't even think about bringing that guy back in here.
Yeah, I don't think Tua deserves like Josh Allen type levels of get Stephon Diggs out of here so I can breathe. But Tua's the guy they're committed to. Tua's their quarterback down there. All right, Jesse Palmer coming up. His take on all of this, including looking ahead to the Super Bowl on Sunday. Mike Johnson on the Leafs last night. Sid not playing tonight, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Sidney Crosby, but by Monday at 5 p.m., Four Nations, all the rosters have to be set. So is he going to play? If not, who's going to step in? We'll get to that as we move forward here. And Luke is coming up. Hazenbrough versus Owen Wilson. Picks will be made at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock today. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050N on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill, Al's brother in here. Jesse Palmer coming up. Mike Johnson coming up. Saw Bobby Webster on first up this morning. He had his presser, and I'm starting to kind of turn a corner on this Brandon Ingram approach and where things are going here with the Raptors.
You're a sucker, man.
No, I am.
A sucker.
I am. The way it's kind of being described is...
so the only time you tank is for half a year.
Well,
give me an example of a half a year tank.
Here's the thing. For starters, they're not gonna be lower in the standings than they already are. Like you're not dropping to like the second worst team, third worst team. The teams that are below them are all horrendous, and they're going to lose out, and it's just not going to happen. So at best, you're going to have like fifth or sixth best odds to win the lottery. Like that's where they're going to be. I think they probably know that's where they're going to be with or without Brandon Ingram. He's probably barely going to play. When he does, there'll be a ton of load management. So Webster's made it pretty clear if you listen to him today. Like they're still tanking for this year. For this year, they're going to tank.
He still said they're continually rebuilding.
Yes,
this year. The R word.
But what they basically did, it's the same thing they did with Pirtle, but the timing's different because Pirtle, they still had Van Vliet and Siakam, and it was like, what are you doing? You're delaying the inevitable. It was basically a free agent signing in the form of a trade.
Essentially.
Like that's
they
what
got
it
ahead
is.
of it.
Yeah, they've already agreed to the deal. He's going to sign here, and whether it's the right piece or not, we'll find out. But that's what this was. It was a free agent signing in the form of a trade. And that's what it's going to be. So they're still going to tank. They're still going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And we'll see if Ingram really pops next year. It's a gamble, but it's one that I think is worth taking because at some point you're going to try to move up. And that's what they're going to do. They don't want to be lost for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
No.
And I don't think anyone really has the stomach for that. All right. That's my 2 cents. We'll see. You guys can respond to that a little bit later on. But we got a guy on the line here who I'm sure is buzzing for Sunday, and I'm sure has a lot of different takes on what we saw yesterday around the NFL, right, including Josh Allen winning the MVP. Here is our TSN NFL analyst, Jesse Palmer. How you doing, Jesse?
Guys, doing awesome. How are you? Happy Super Bowl week.
Yes, love it. We're doing well. The Hall of Fame actually was announced last night. I guess we'll begin with Eli. Eli Manning was not a first-ballot Hall of Famer. How did you respond to that?
Not overly surprised. Just to be clear, I mean, I think Eli is going to get in eventually. The best way I would sum it up is if you looked at Eli's career, I would say he's had Hall of Fame moments. I don't, but a lot of people don't feel like he's had the Hall of Fame career. No MVPs, no first-team All-Pros, anything like that. I mean, obviously, the 2 Super Bowl wins against Tom Brady and winning the Super Bowl MVP in those games, I think is the strongest case. And ultimately, I think that is what's going to get him in. I think right now he sits 11th in career passing yards and career passing touchdowns. So statistically, from that standpoint, he gets in. I think the problem right now is that from a career standpoint, in 16 years, he's got a 500 winning percentage. But historically, if you look at guys like Dan Fouts and Warren Moon, they had similar career winning percentages, and both of those guys were first-team, first-ballot Hall of Famers. Warren Moon actually never even reached a conference championship game in his NFL career. And so, I think it's just a matter of time for him. It's not surprising he didn't get the first ballot. By the way, Michael Strahan didn't get a first ballot. Chris Carter didn't get a first ballot. Theo didn't get a first ballot. So, John Randall didn't get a first ballot. So, I mean, it's not surprising to me he didn't get in, but I do think he is going to get it. Now, it may not be next year, though, because you look at next year, Drew Brees is available. Phillip Rivers is available. Bill Belichick is available. Jason Witten available. Larry Fitzgerald's available. So, it's going to be a huge discussion next year, too. But I do think it is a matter of time before he does get in.
Jesse, the guy in KC is a slam dunk to get in. We all know that. And as far as the game Sunday, he's the guy that never loses. But Philadelphia, just watching NFL Live and all the shows in the States all week, people are describing the Eagles, and they have all week, and they have for quite some time, as the best roster in football. So if you had a choice, like if a random fan was going to pick between the best roster and the guy that kind of Mr. Clutch and doesn't really lose, what should they take?
I'd take Mr. Clutch. I mean, because just look how good he's been. Just look how good he's been in the biggest games, throughout his career. And
so there's nothing about the best roster with Saquon that says maybe that's the recipe to take him down.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, there's no question in my mind Philadelphia's the best roster in the NFL this year. There are a lot of people that also think this is the best team that Mahomes and Andy Reid have played in a Super Bowl so far, even better than Tom Brady's Bucs with that defense and Antonio Brown and all those guys too. I think that's personally debatable. I think what makes Philadelphia different from the team that got beat by the Chiefs a couple of years ago is Saquon Barkley. You just mentioned it yourself. I mean, they're explosive now running the football. One play can be a home run at any given moment. And you combine that with the best defense in the NFL statistically, and that feels like a recipe. But here's what I know about the Chiefs. They've won 15 straight games by 7 points or less. Think about that for a second. 15 straight. Like, this is a team that knows how to win close games. You've seen that's been the theme for them all season long. And listen, luck plays a big part of that, by the way. And there have been some games where, kickers have doinked kicks off the uprights. We've seen quarterbacks fumble snaps late in games that have secured wins for the Chiefs. But, dude, with Mahomes, he's the best third down quarterback in the NFL this year during the regular season, and it actually got better in the postseason. I saw some crazy stat this week. They went back and they looked at every quarterback in NFL playoff history in the modern era, and they were looking at how successful they were on drives at the end of the game where they were trailing and they needed either a field goal or a touchdown to get it to OT or to win the game. And they were looking at the percentage of times that quarterback was able to come through for his respective team. And Tom Brady was like at 50%. I think Drew Brees is at 60%. I want to say Mahomes is something like 7 for 7 or 13 for 13, like 100%. Like, with the game on the line, there's never been a guy more clutch than Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. It's like Joe Montana stuff. And so, I hear what you're saying about the roster. I totally get it. I mean, Jalen Hurts was effectively Superman the last time these teams played in the Super Bowl, and that still wasn't enough to get it done. And so, listen, Kansas City still has other good players too, outside of just Mahomes. But to me, that's the guy that makes the difference, and that's why I have a really, really hard time picking against him.
So if that's the case, you're on the field after the game. Let's say the Eagles win. Do you think the story will be the Eagles winning and how they did, or will it be the Chiefs losing and what happened to Mahomes?
I think it'll be the Eagles winning and what they did. I think if they win this game, I think Saquon goes off, first off. I think Saquon will have to have a monster game. They're also going to have balance. And I think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and all those guys are going to have to get theirs, too. I think they have to have Jalen Hurts has to have a day throwing it. It's good news for them, by the way, that they've had an extra week of healing time for Jalen Hurts and his left knee. But to me, the big story will probably be Philadelphia's defense, I think. I think if you're going to slow down Patrick Mahomes, it's going to come from the pass rush. And we know that the Chiefs this year, they've had problems protecting for Mahomes. I think he's been sacked 41 times when you count the regular season and the postseason combined. And they've had all these issues with their left tackle. Nolan Smith for the Eagles has basically been unblockable in the postseason. I think he has 4 sacks throughout the course of the playoffs. So no question. If the Eagles pull this off, it's got to be about what they did to unseat a team that no one's really been able to figure out in the postseason with one of the all-time great quarterbacks and one of the all-time great coaches on their side.
Well, I mean, I think Saquon has to have a big game, but when you look at Jalen Hurts, the last time that these two teams met in the Super Bowl, he did throw for over 300 yards. Do you feel like he's kind of being slept on a little bit as a guy who could impact the game here this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if people believe it's the old formula of just, hey, let's just run the ball with Saquon, play great defense, we win in the trenches, we win the Super Bowl. I don't honestly. I mean, that generally is the formula that you would follow, and there's probably a lot of other teams in Super Bowl history you can point back to and say that's exactly what they did, and that's why they won. The Bears of '85 pop out, the Ravens with Trent Dilfer for that team, but. I feel like to beat Mahomes, it's got to be more. So you're right. I mean, it does have to be more Jalen Hurts, and you know he talked after they just pummeled Washington in the NFC title game at his post game press conference, and he said, you know, Sirianni finally kind of took the straitjacket off me a little bit and kind of let me loose, let me throw it. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to have to do more of that. Like Philadelphia is way too talented at wide receiver and at tight end. For those guys not to be able to make plays in this one, they absolutely have got to do that. You know, Kansas City's defense is going to come into this thing saying, rule number 1 is we have to stop Saquon Barkley. The second thing they've got to do is they've got to stop the push play, which, I mean, I don't know if we talked about this. I think I talked about this on Monday Morning Quarterback, but in the AFC title game, how ridiculously good was Kansas City's defense on Josh Allen's quarterback sneak? I mean, a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback tried to sneak it 6 times. They stuffed him 4 times.
Ooh.
And they did it once on 4th down. It was huge. Now, if you go back, I mean, that's I know, like, quarterback sneaks, you know, is a microcosm, obviously, of the game. But I feel like when you play the Eagles, when you play Jalen Hurts, that's a big part of being able to get off the field. And by the way, the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl, I think Jalen Hurts scored 2 touchdowns on quarterback sneak. Kansas City actually struggled with that. So if there's kind of a weird area of the game that you're looking at in this one that might determine it, when Philly gets into 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, if Kansas City does what they did against Josh Allen and the Bills, man, that is huge for the Chiefs.
Jesse, Tom Brady, and I mean, we talked about Mahomes being Mr. Clutch. Like, that guy was Mr. Clutch for the Pats, and then he got it done again with the Bucks. What do you think he's going through with his first Super Bowl up on Sunday? I mean, do you think he's got nerves, and how do you think he's been overall as far as, you know, the color guy?
Yeah, I'm sure he's got nerves. He's probably got excitement, though. I mean, that was a guy that just thrived in playing in big games. So I think that probably translates to his broadcasting as well. He's probably so excited to get up in the booth and call that game, just understanding the stage. And I mean, it's I think fun for all of us, at least watching the game, to hear from a guy. No one's ever done it more, right? No one's ever won that game more than that guy and been in those moments. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I've been a fan of Tom, listening to him this year, honestly. I mean, from a guy, you know, I can speak to it firsthand, at least having played the position, not anywhere near the level he did, but then make that transition to the booth. It's tough. It's daunting. And there are a lot of things, a lot of fundamentals and mechanics that I think go into broadcasting and calling games that probably a lot of people at home aren't aware of. And the only way you ever get control of that, and the only way you get used to that stuff is like anything else. It's just reps and calling games. So, I mean, he's on a big stage in his first year of doing this. There's going to be, you know, I don't even know how many people around the world are going to be watching this game. It's the biggest stage in sports. So obviously a lot of pressure on him, but is he making like $35 million a year or something?
Yeah. He's got, so he's kind of got to meet the moment, doesn't he, for 35 sheets?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. You know, but listen, I mean, if there was ever a guy built to do that based on his own experience, you got to think it's him. So I'm excited. And what's going to help him too, I think, is, you know, I'm expecting this to be a close game. I'm expecting this to probably go deep into the 4th quarter. For broadcasters, that always helps. You know, staying locked into the moments and the X's and O's of it all. So So I can't wait. I'm sure he's going to do great.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one on Sunday. Enjoy it, Jesse. We always appreciate you finding time for us.
You too, guys. I appreciate you.
There's Jesse Palmer, TSN NFL analyst.
That guy's the GOAT of broadcasting. Whenever
yeah.
I'm talking to somebody like that's asked for any type of advice doing this gig, I'm like, the goal is Jesse Palmer. He looks good, he talks, he's got thoughts, and it comes out smoothly. Yeah. And it's got some energy to it. There's not much to it other than that, right?
Yeah, and he's a crossover guy. Like, he's doing The Bachelor.
Dude, that guy's doing everything. Cooking shows.
Yeah, he's doing everything. And OverDrive.
He did The Amazing Race, too. He did that as well.
Yeah, I think he has done the
Hold
Amazing
on to
Race.
that final rose. I've got Al's brother on line one.
Hold on, guys. Doogie's calling me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's high on his list of achievements throughout his career is talking to us, bi-weekly throughout the season. But if it is a blowout, does it turn into Tom Brady's story time?
Dude, every game that's a blowout with those guys is story time. Because nobody cares anymore. You're just like, remember that time you did this? Mm-hmm. Noodles and MJ, or MJ and Gord, Noodles and Gord, like if it's a blowout, they literally start talking hockey stories and stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to go.
I'll be curious, though, because obviously, us in the media, we're having that conversation. Mahomes versus Brady, at what point does he get to Brady status, GOAT status, and maybe eclipse him? Like, is it Overhart doing the play-by-play with them?
Yeah.
Like, does he have the cojones to have that conversation with Brady?
That's a great question.
But if it's a Chiefs blowout,
what conversation with
midway
Brady?
through the fourth quarter,
asking him if Mahomes is better than him.
Well, what about this?
Or at his level.
What about asking the Stephen A. Smith comment where it's like, if Mahomes gets this three-peat, he's the GOAT, man.
Exactly.
There's no question. Do you think old Kurt would bring that up?
I don't know.
Way,
I don't think so.
You want to talk about getting the eyes? Could you imagine Tom Brady looking at him like it's 35-3 by the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, and Overhart goes, "Well, pal, let me ask you a question here," and it's, do you think Mahomes is better than you or is past you?
Kurt, do you want to eat out of a straw for the rest of the game?
I would, if I was Brady, I'd look at him and say, wait until he comes back from a 28-3 second half deficit before we have that conversation.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
That's how you respond to that question.
And here's the thing. Brady, though, like the move in sports always is to be graceful and probably say, yeah, I think he has, or I think he's on my level. Hey, I love that guy. What would be great is if he did, like, if he pulled an Eric Dickerson, it's like, no, I don't think he is, and I don't want him to be. I don't want this guy to catch me. I don't think he's going to catch me. I don't think he can catch me. That's a statement.
Well, he's got 7 Super Bowls, Brady?
Yeah, 6 in New England, 1 in Tampa.
And this would be 4 for Mahomes?
It's pretty amazing. Like, he catches Montana with his 4th here. Montana had 4, Bradshaw had 4. I'm trying to think of who else. I think that's it in terms of the all-time greats, or anyone for that matter. I mean, because Brady, once he passed them, I don't think anyone's got 5 or 6. It's like Montana, Bradshaw, maybe Mahomes as of Sunday, and then Brady's at 7.
Yeah, that's it. Aikman's got 3, and then, you got
Elway's got 2, and Manning's got 2. Yeah, Eli's got 2. All right. Mike Johnson coming up in 15 minutes. Al's brother, you get a few lists for us, or a couple of different lists we're going to get to today. Dear Hazy B as well at 6:30. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson coming up in about 10 minutes. The class of 2025 Football Hall of Fame was announced yesterday. Congrats to everyone getting in. It is a formality, obviously, as we know, that Tom Brady will be going in 2028. I just saw Darren Rovell tweet out that he's already starting to, basically prepare for that. And he's starting to
prepare.
Doing what? Like starting a speech?
Brady 2028 Hall of Fame inscriptions are starting to be signed, in anticipation. That's how much of a baller this guy is, that he is already preparing for, which I hope leads to a point for the first time ever where he doesn't act like he's surprised that he got the call. Yeah. Right? Every athlete, I couldn't believe it all. I flushed the call. I was like, I wasn't even expecting it. Yes, you were, Tom
I
Brady.
like when McDavid goes like, "Oh, well, if I'm lucky enough to play for Canada."
Yeah, I know. It's like, dude, you don't have to say that. We get it. You're trying to be humble. We understand it. But I prefer the honesty. I'm a lock. I'm going to be playing a ton of minutes. And if I'm not, John Cooper's going to hear from me and everyone else.
Hayes, you said, I mean, even when he committed to the broadcast booth, you were convinced that guy was coming out of retirement to play again.
I feel like he probably still could and be better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league.
Could.
I do, but it's
You
over
think
now.
you think a team would pick up a call?
Who would you?
Like,
let me
here's
ask you
the
this.
question: if Goodell said, "NFL teams, Brady, we want you back in the league," who says no? Is it Brady or the teams?
Well, he's an owner now, and it complicates things.
But it's still the idea of Brady playing again.
It's probably Brady. I mean, the ship has sailed. He's done. He's comfortable now. He's retired. It's a great
Dude,
lifestyle.
I don't think any team's taking a shot on Tom Brady.
Oh, I think
right
a team
now.
would. If he opened up and said, any of the 32 teams, I will go if someone wants me, one of those teams.
Who would have more suitors today, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
that is a
good
fact.
question. Probably Roger. Like, he's playing. Like, he's still playing.
He's still playing, and he still put up decent numbers
but it's
last year.
like bringing in Brady would just be a whole nother element.
Whole different element. Leadership, all that stuff. All right, hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.